Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Rousseau.
A prominent physician now accused of a disgusting crime. The accuser, a male patient with disabilities. I'll go over the details and what the doctor is saying about the claims. I'm Angenette Levy, and this is Crime Fix. Dr. Michael Rousseau has been practicing medicine for more than 30 years. His specialty, urology. So it wouldn't be unusual for him to be around men who may be undressed from the waist down. Men who placed their trust in him. Men who went to him for help. And prosecutors say one man, a patient, was developmentally disabled. It would appear that the vast majority of Dr. Rousseau's patients were men. This case takes us to Clermont County, Ohio, east of Cincinnati. That's where Dr. Michael Rousseau was a celebrated physician with the Urology Group, a large practice that provides a number of services for people suffering from ailments in the kidneys, bladder, or urinary tract. The doctors also provide treatment for sexual health. The Urology Group celebrated Dr. Rousseau on its Facebook page, as it did other physicians with the group. But on April 20th, 2026, police and prosecutors say Dr. Rousseau took advantage of a patient in his office and told the man to essentially keep it a secret. Dr. Rousseau was forced to trade his white coat for a jail jumpsuit after police said he raped the man during a doctor's appointment. Dr. Rousseau was also charged with sexual battery. On August 4th, officers with the Union Township Police Department placed Rousseau under arrest and took him to the Clermont County Jail. Rousseau was booked on the rape and sexual battery charges. The prominent doctor was treated like any other inmate, cuffed and made to take off his shoes and searched, the whole 9 yards. He was photographed, a mugshot taken with glasses and without. Now back to the incident that police say occurred on April 20th with the developmentally disabled man in Rousseau's office. A complaint states, the victim alleged that during his appointment, Rousseau asked the victim to perform oral sex on him, exposed his private part, and began masturbating. The Ohio Medical Board was notified regarding this complaint and also opened an investigation. The complaint says an agency that provides services to that developmentally disabled man reported this alleged incident to police. The man was a client of that agency. The complaint states, on July 30th, 2026, Ohio Medical Board investigator Joshua Dull met with Rousseau and completed an interview. During the interview, Rousseau admitted to engaging in a, quote, embrace and a kiss with the victim that caused Rousseau to become sexually aroused. Rousseau told Dull that his private part was exposed to the victim and that the victim performed oral sex on him. After a period of time, the oral sex ended, and Rousseau admitted to Dull that he told the victim that this has to be between you and me. So this interview took place with an investigator from the medical board at the end of July. The complaint continued. Rousseau told Dull that he had a, quote, lack of judgment when describing the incident. On August 3rd, 2026, the victim responded for an additional interview in which the man disclosed that Rousseau engaged in a hug, followed by a kiss. The victim stated that Rousseau then asked the man to perform oral sex. The victim alleged Rousseau then exposed his private part and began masturbating before engaging in oral sex with the victim. The victim was and is substantially impaired because of a diagnosed mental condition. These additional interviews led police to pick up Dr. Rousseau and take him to jail. He appeared in court the next morning where his attorney spoke on his behalf.
My client's 63 years old. He's lived in Cincinnati since 1990. He has family here. He's cooperated when he was detained. He engaged counsel. He's got no prior convictions. There's no indication that he will not appear before the court.
Dr. Rousseau is a man of means. He lives in a very nice neighborhood. The prosecutor laid out the allegations and why they wanted the judge to set a $2 million bond.
However, the allegations herein are extremely disturbing. The defendant is a medical doctor, a urologist with an office in Clermont County, Ohio. As one of his patients, he saw the alleged victim in this case, who is a developmentally delayed individual, to the point where this, in meeting with the investigator and detective here, the individual drew pictures to try to help describe what went on in this particular case. So obviously we're dealing with a substantial developmental delay for this individual. As the time progressed after the alleged incident, the alleged victim disclosed allegations to the Brown County Board of Developmental Disabilities, an agent therein of exactly what this individual says happened. It says that during a meeting with the defendant embraced and kissed the victim, that at some point the defendant exposed himself and asked the victim to perform oral sex upon the defendant. The victim did in fact do that, and thereafter at the end the defendant said to the victim, "This has to be between you and me." That is in and of itself some level of coercion, threat, things of that nature. Ultimately, the matter was turned over to the Ohio Medical Board. An investigator met with the defendant. The defendant actually confessed and gave a version of the facts that was consistent with what the victim said occurred.
The prosecutor said he was also concerned about Dr. Rousseau's well-being after listening to one of his jail calls.
And at some point was arrested, has made a jail call to his wife indicating concerns over his own well-being. The wife said to him on this jail call, "Don't hurt yourself." The defendant made comments that were consistent with the notion that he had thought about it, and for a number of reasons, we think this gentleman needs a significantly high bond.
The judge said he believed Dr. Rousseau could be a flight risk. He also said that the allegations were very serious and acknowledged the concern that Rousseau might be a danger to himself. Judge Garber set a $1 million bond for Dr. Rousseau, ordered him to surrender his passport and wear a GPS monitor. His lawyer also said his client had left the urology group, quit his job. Rousseau posted bail, and the next day a grand jury indicted him on felony charges of rape, sexual battery, and gross sexual imposition. The Clermont County prosecutor said in a statement, "The Clermont County Prosecutor's Office, along with the Union Township Police Department, will not stand for a doctor violating the most sacred trust of his victim. This case is even more egregious, as the defendant knowingly took advantage of someone that could not resist his advances. It's a stunning fall from grace for a doctor who was celebrated by his practice, for his work as a surgeon, and for his presentations about urology." So to really delve into this case, I want to bring in Jay Clark. He's a criminal defense attorney who has practiced in the greater Cincinnati area for many, many years and has handled all kinds of cases from murders to rapes and cases similar to this one, although he is not involved in this case. So Jay, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You know, Jay, on its face, when you read this complaint, and this is just a complaint, this sounds very, very bad for Dr. Rousseau. He has made an admission, according to the detectives. They say that he confessed to the medical board investigator.
Assuming that everything in the affidavit is accurate as it's written, factually, that's a bad fact. You really don't want your clients to make admissions to anybody. On the other side of it, if you're representing the doctor, that can also be, I'll say, somewhat mitigating, that he didn't deny, he took responsibility, admitted what happened. So on the surface, it looks bad, but I guess as an occupation, we try to find the good that we can use in that. And it looks like this might be an isolated incident as well.
You know, that is an interesting thing that you bring up, whether or not this is an isolated incident. You know, this is a 63-year-old man who's been practicing medicine for decades. And he is a man who, I mean, let's just face facts. He's a urologist. So he is around men, mostly, some women, who may be undressed from the waist down. And this is a developmentally or mentally disabled person that he is accused of taking advantage of. So, I mean, in your experience, though, could this at age 63 just be the first time this ever happens?
It could be, yeah. It very well could be. Um, I know that there have been circumstances, I think maybe even locally, of a dentist who was doing the same type of misconduct. There were multiple victims that came forward in that. I mean, I don't want to assume my clients did anything more than what they're charged with.
Mm-hmm.
I assume also that if there are other victims, that they will come forward now that there is attention drawn to the doctor. He's been charged publicly.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I wouldn't want to assume there are others, but there very well could be.
Yeah, and that's what it sounds like. They believe there could be. The prosecutor has essentially said, victims should contact the police department. They're not saying, yeah, indeed there are, but if there are,
Right.
they should call the police. And we
Right.
don't want to get over our skis on that. There are some curious things in this complaint that really make you go, what? Like, what? I mean, because the timeline here is laid out pretty starkly. I mean, April 20th, this patient has the appointment with Dr. Rousseau. That's the allegation. And
Right.
he has the appointment, and then this sexual assault, alleged sexual battery, rape occurs in the office. It's pretty graphic, the details that are laid out. And April 24th, it's reported to police by the Brown County, Board of,
Developmental disabilities.
The agency that helps the people who have mental disabilities. And then there appears to be some big lag. And we're like, what was going on there? Was there investigation going on by the Union Township Police Department? And then we fast forward to July 30th, and the medical board investigator goes and interviews the doctor. And that person says he makes a full admission with corroborating details. So why on earth is there some lag? Because if you're a police officer and you get that complaint that comes in from an agency, wouldn't you immediately start investigating and maybe go interview the victim and the accuser and go?
You would like to
interview
think
the
so,
doctor?
yeah. If I did the math, April to May, May to June, June to July, almost a 90-day delay. And what I find interesting, I think we can assume that they did not even attempt to contact Dr. Rousseau, they being the police department. Had they done that, I doubt he would have gone unrepresented, and then when the medical board interviewed him, given a full statement. In other words, had they gone and tried to contact him April 25th, 26th, whatever, this might have been taken care of 90 days ago in terms of filing charges and getting this admission. So this is not just obviously the incident report, but there is a gap in time that it strikes me as almost unreasonable given the nature of the allegations. I'd like to know what the detectives were doing between April 24th and I think it was July 30th when the medical board investigators met with the doctor. That's a huge window of time in there that something should have been going on.
Right, because it seems like the doctor's antenna was not up at all. So,
Not at all.
Right. And he's still practicing. I mean, as of a couple of
Right.
days ago, his photo was still on the urology group's website. Videos of him were still up on their YouTube channel. Pictures of him on Facebook lauding him as such a great doctor. So if they had
Right.
any inkling that there was an allegation, all that stuff would have been taken down weeks ago.
And I think you said earlier that his antenna wasn't up. No one had contacted him. Or none of what you just highlighted, I think, would have been available. And I think given the nature of his occupation, as you pointed out, it makes speed a little more of an issue, time a little more of an issue when you get a complaint like this. It's not a one-off thing where it was somebody who met somebody in a park. This guy works with people, like you said, who are naked from the waist down predominantly. So I'm concerned about that. I know at least some police departments have guidelines that when a complaint comes in, they have so many days to get the investigation concluded. Cincinnati, I think it's 28 days. Here we have 90 days, and there's no indication that any investigation was done other than taking the initial report. Obviously, this is not all the information out there, but I would be interested to see in the incident report or the narrative what was happening after April 24th before July 30th.
Yeah, it's nonsensical. And at the time of this recording,
Right.
his medical license is still active.
Yeah, I mean, he's still engaging with patients for 3 months, over 3 months, from the time the initial report comes in until the medical board interviews him on July 30th. So I can't explain that. That would be a good question for somebody at the Union Township Investigative Unit.
Is that going to hurt the case? I mean, they still have an admission, but it just seems very curious and like not a great thing for this investigation. You do have, according to the police, an admission to the medical board investigator. But again, you have 3 months of nothing taking place, or nearly 3 months of nothing taking place.
I think ultimately that delay is in terms of the ability to successfully prosecute the case. I don't think that will impact it for the reasons you pointed out. It sounds like the account that the alleged victim provided was pretty much corroborated by the doctor. There's not much more you would need to successfully prosecute it. I don't know what caused the delay, but it still doesn't change the facts. It appears Dr. Rousseau was very forthright and it admitted what happened. So it should not. I wouldn't think that would be an issue, not on these facts in this case.
So, Jay, this case comes across your desk. What do you do with it?
We talk to the doctor. We find out what's going on. If we accept, again, just based on the allegations that everything here is accurate, it becomes an issue of mitigation, I think. And so I would talk to the doctor about what he may or may not be willing to do to mitigate some of this. In other cases I've had that were sex offenses, I've been able to have some success having the client evaluated by an appropriate therapist and begin treatment and counseling and therapy that way. That can oftentimes be very mitigating. Also finding out the best possible from the doctor what was motivating, what was happening this day. Was there some type of trigger that, as you pointed out before, he's 63 years old. This is not his first day doing this job. Why that day? So is there something mentally or psychologically that he can get addressed or get treatment for that eliminates this or minimizes the risk of this happening again? And then doing what he can to make it right with the alleged victim. I've had some cases where the client will pay for therapy for a certain period of time to help the person or whatever that might be. Oftentimes, one of the things that's very helpful is a sincere apology from the client. I'm not sure I understand the psychological importance of it, but a victim basically being given permission to understand they did nothing wrong. They didn't invite this. It's not their fault. It helps them in their healing process as well. And I guess, and I don't understand how it works, but getting a sincere apology from the perpetrator helps that frequently, is my understanding. So I try to look at that and do that as well.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, the allegations here are incredibly disturbing, but right now they're allegations. He's innocent until proven guilty. A $1 million bond was set for him. The prosecution wanted a $2 million bond. They said he was on a jail call expressing to his wife he's concerned that he might do something to himself. I mean, how do you prevent that? You're a defense attorney. I mean, your job is to make sure your client's rights are protected, but also you don't want something happening to your client once he's out on bail.
What I've found is if people are going to hurt themselves, no matter where they are or their circumstance, they will find a way if they're committed to doing it. I don't know that a $2 million bond or $1 million bond would actually be reasonable in this case. I can understand the nature of the allegations, but I also think this is the kind of person who is not got the wherewithal or the intent to flee. He certainly could have done it in that time window from July 30th till the charges were filed. It looks like just what little bit I have, he's got fairly stable and long-time roots here in the community. The purpose of bond is to make sure he comes back to court to safeguard the community. I think there are conditions that you can put in place. It might be less stress psychologically to be home in his home environment rather than in a jail cell. I don't know how that, because I'm not a psychiatrist, which is more likely to cause him to hurt himself. It's also not unusual for clients who have never been in trouble before that when they do get in trouble for something extremely serious like this, thoughts of self-harm are some of the first thoughts they have when they get arrested. So I'm not surprised that he articulated that in a phone call to his wife. I don't know that that is a reason or legitimate reason to ask for a high bond. People are able to take their life in jail settings and prisons every day. Mm-hmm. So unless he's on a suicide watch, it's not going to make any difference. So I'm not sure that that's a valid concern. It's a legitimate concern for his well-being, but I don't think it should be a factor in the bond.
Well, we will see where this case goes. Jay Clark, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I contacted Michael Rousseau's attorney, John O'Shea. He declined my request for comment and to come on the podcast. A court date for Dr. Rousseau to enter a plea to the charges has not yet been scheduled. The prosecutor is asking anyone who has been a victim of Dr. Rousseau to call the Union Township Police Department in Clermont County, Ohio. And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.